Let's work together before it's too late. Spread the peace, stop the hate. Let's work together before it's too late. Spread the peace, stop the hate. Join the peace police, keep America great.
Hey everybody, sorry it took me a second to click on the right button there. How are you? It's Rick and Lowell from the Peace Police. And once again, we love coming to you every week. How are you? Lowell, my brother, how are you?
Doing? Hi, everybody.
I'm going to get these little icons up there on the screen. Oop, that's the wrong one. And then Lowell, I thought I'd ask you, what's some good topic we could talk about today, brother?
Wow, this is the first of the year, and we're coming up on January 6th.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Where we will have, they say 2 to 3 million people in Washington, D.C., and could be the biggest event that has ever been in Washington, D.C., with the Trumpites, the Trumpaneros, or whatever you want to call them, going out there to protest the election.
Right.
Real stop the steal, they call it,
Right.
There's a few things I want to say about that, but I just want to say that you can probably count on them not burning down or blowing up buildings, beating up people, families, and knifing them and stuff like that. You can probably count on the conservatives, who are more of a God-fearing, type crowd, not to do any of that. You may have some of the, the far right fringes or whatever out there too. So
yeah,
there's always the chance of an eruption, and I'm sure you'll have some BLM and some Antifa.
right.
And I just want to say one thing. When I use the term BLM, I'm not talking about Black lives not mattering. Of course they matter, just
Yes,
like all
do.
lives.
Yes, they do.
How about baby lives matter too?
Right.
Unborn babies.
Right.
But I'm talking about the Marxist organization, which, if you look at the website that they have, is a declared Marxist,
right,
anti-family, anti-Christian, anti-Israel, type organization. It has nothing to do with
right.
helping the Black families. In fact, they've collected billions of dollars and not helped one family.
Right.
So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, obviously,
right.
We all love every race, creed,
That's
color,
right.
God.
Amen.
And as citizens, we're all equal, brothers and sisters, so to speak, in that sense of being citizens.
No, you're right.
But I want to tell you, there'll be 2 or 3 million people out there, and now you've got several hundred, different representatives and senators. I think there's at least 12 senators and 140 or whatever representatives that are going to support Trump, and hopefully the vice president will too.
Right.
And I'll tell you why. Because since there are 6 swing states that mysteriously had this pause in the middle of the night between 1 and 3 in the morning, and they all did it at the same time, and they all have anomalies that are just too impossible to explain. And you've had cyber experts, and you have, in Pennsylvania, you got 580,000 votes that came in for Biden during that time, and 3,200 for Trump. It's just not feasible mathematically.
No,
and you got so many other things, and even like Kelly Ward of Arizona, and here in Nevada, we have like 40,000 questionable ballots. There's just so much that anyone who truly believes they won should want it to be proven that they won. You should want half the people in the whole country, 74 million, saying we'll never accept it. I know that the Democrats, for instance, never have accepted Trump's presidency.
Right.
But usually Republicans or conservatives will say, well, whoever won, that's my president.
Yeah.
Just like we did when Obama won.
As long as it's fair.
Obama. We said he's our president. And to tell you the truth, it's just like the NFL and the challenges. If you think you caught it and it wasn't a fumble, let's go back and look at it.
Right.
And let's see it from all the different angles and see if it was a catch, because it could change the course of the season, the divisional playoff. Whatever. This is not football. No. This is the presidency of the United States, and one in which one side wants, it's not in my book, it's not open for opinion, but one side wants a globalist approach
Right.
to running the country and back to high taxation and back to a lot of things that some of us, like the pro-life crowd, do not necessarily want our country to go in that direction.
That's right.
So we'll accept a fair election, but what we won't accept is just a blanket sweeping under the rug of this. So what I'm hoping is that they'll say, look, let's do a 10-day extension, and now let's get in there and examine the paper itself.
Yeah.
Let's get in there and examine the ballots. Let's see if they were folded. Let's see if they were printed somewhere else. Let's see how many dead people voted.
Right.
Let's see how many people voted more than once. Let's see how many people that weren't registered voters voted.
Right.
Let's see how many people that moved to another state and voted in 2, 3, 5 different elections.
We know that happened in your state.
Yeah, let's get rid of all the ballots that are not legal, and they're not just, they're not truthful, they're not fair.
Yeah. You know, it's funny,
because
Lowell,
if we don't do it now, there'll never be another fair election ever again, brother, my friend.
You're right. The country is at stake. The future, you know, the great experiment of America is at stake. You know, a couple of things I was thinking. First of all, you know, I had a career in IT for like 21 years, right? I know a little bit about how computer systems work. And just because, whether they're connected to the internet or not, I can very easily put a thumb drive in a computer and update.
Which we've got video of, by the way.
They have video of people. So, I mean, I could do it right now. In fact, I could have built the software in advance to say, if this machine senses a thumb drive with this volume name on it, launch this routine, search in this folder on the thumb drive for how many votes you're supposed to add, and change them. This is just something that any like 2-year IT programmer could do. So, you know, what we're supposed to believe is that at least 6 states shut down, and then magically when they came up, the entire numbers had changed, but there was no one there to watch what they were doing during that time. I mean,
in fact, they were told to leave.
They were told to leave. I mean, it almost blows my mind that any Democrat would want to.
Well, we used to have, you know, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we used to have where parties, the people on both parties would not always agree with the party line and would say, no, on this issue.
Right.
But we don't even have that anymore. We just have a blanket acceptance of, if it's Trump, I'm going to be for it. Trump bad, Orange Man bad. We don't have anybody that has a conscience for what might be called integrity or honor anymore. So I'm not opposed to going in. And if Biden won, I have a hard time believing that he won, and he only won 500 counties. And Trump won 2,400 counties, and he only won the 6 cities in 6 states that needed to be won in order to put him over. When those have been traditionally for 30 to 40 years, you know, corruptible major Democrat organizations that have run those cities and frankly run them into the ground. But their elections have always been suspect for at least 30 years.
Yes. That's right.
And then all of a sudden you're just going to say no, you know, it just doesn't add up, especially when the Democrats were not willing and have not been willing to accept Trump's presidency for 4 years. And now they're just saying, no, don't be doing anti-American recounting of the votes. No, recounting of the votes would be the American thing to do.
That's right.
That's right. It would be the citizen responsibility to want to see that, whether you're left or right.
That's right. A couple of quick shout outs. I see our friend Patsy. It's so good to see you back, Patsy.
Wow, Patsy.
Yeah. Hey, Lowell, I'm hearing some weird clicking on your end, and you're freezing up a little. Just wanted to let you know that. And then, so yeah, great to see you, Patsy. And then Katie Adams. We love you, Katie. She says, this is why we need to go back to paper ballots and hand counting. That's right. We all want free and fair elections. That's exactly right. Yeah, I'm hearing that really weird clicking. I hope it's
And
not.
I don't have this foot thing on, Rick.
It's all good, bro. We'll get through this broadcast. It'll be all good. Looks like we're having the devil in the details or some demon in the machine or something, but that's okay because we're just going to go forward.
Location here.
Yeah. The other thing, Lowell, that I was going to say is there may be 2 or 3 million people in Washington D.C. on the 6th, and I agree with you 100% that just because of the demographic, I don't expect those people to do violence. Now, are there far right crazies? Yeah, of course. There's neo-Nazis, right? We disavow them. Trump disavows them. They're not even who I'm worried about. You know who I'm worried about? I'm worried about if you picture a 2 million crowd, I'm worried about the Antifa types and the others who go in there and try to make it look like Trump people are starting fights. Trump people are violent.
Yeah.
They're going to make it, and they might even dress up in Trump hats and everything. You know what I mean? They can impersonate. It's easy, right? Just go there and say, yeah, I'm for Trump, and then start fights. So I agree with you 100%. You know, I don't think conservatives tend to riot and steal televisions. You know, but
they don't tend to use that as an excuse to go get their big screen or.
Yeah.
You know, and then burn the building down that was owned by a minority guy to your neighbor. Yeah. But you want the TV more than you want, you know, his business to go on. So, you know, it's the kind of stuff that really ticks you off that none of us should be for any of that, regardless of what side you're on. And
that's right.
And I'll tell you, I hope that the vice president simply says, look, we just can't accept the votes as they are right now. From those 6 states.
That's right.
There's an alternate set of electors. If you want me to, I'll pick those, or we can do a redo.
Right.
We'll have to have the military come in.
That's right.
And question everyone, every ID, every ballot, and let's see who actually won this in those 6 states.
But you know what the left will do if the military's involved? You know what they'll do? They'll say Trump's Hitler. Look, it's the SS.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know, but you're right.
This is not unprecedented in our country's history. We have had a few things like this, but I think the thing is now you're to the point where if you want to win so bad that you're willing to isolate 80 million people, including about 20% of Democrats that say, nah, there's no way that Biden, you know, there's just no way that he outperformed Obama and Trump when Trump got 10 million more votes this time than he did last time.
Right.
There's just no way.
It's not possible.
That it could be. You know, it's just like, you know. And it's possible. I will say that it is possible, but with the excitement and enthusiasm level that Obama was even not able to gender up for Biden. I mean, you couldn't get 46 people there to a rally, and you saw night after night, sometimes 5 a day, of tens of thousands of Trump supporters who are willing to brave the cold and the rain and the everything for hours, even 2 days before the event.
Right.
That shows me that you had a charged up, energized voter base.
Right.
Against a non-charged up, and you just can't hardly believe that Biden would have, it's common sense.
No, and it's not. You're right. It's not only common sense. It's math and statistics. Listen, if you go to bed the night before, and Trump is winning by hundreds of thousands of votes, and you wake up the next morning and Biden just got enough to beat him by like a little bit. Plus, when they went, you saw that courtroom where the guy goes, all right, of all these new ballots you found, how many were for Biden? How many were for Trump? There was like 300,000 of them, and 2,000 were for Trump. Listen,
everybody in the room laughed.
Yeah, the whole courtroom laughed. That is statistically impossible. It's just impossible. You can say it. It's okay to say it. It's statistically impossible. It would be like every planet in the solar system lining up. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So, but you hit on something there, Lowell. There used to be cooperation between the parties, and people sometimes, on both sides were a little more centrist. But right now, it's just we hate the other side. We hate the other side, and we will kill, rob, steal, whatever it takes to get the other side out. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I don't think I'm exaggerating that much. There's a hatred for Donald Trump and Republicans that the people that are against, the people that are against Donald Trump are against him with a seething hatred. Never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it's an unspeakable hatred that doesn't even have any reason behind it. In fact, when you square these people off, they can't even tell you the reason. They just fume with it's almost like a supernatural hatred.
Yeah. Well, and both you and I are serve the Lord, and so we know that there are spiritual forces afoot up there, but it's I had another thought and I just lost it, but it's crazy that we would just let this go, but people dislike Trump so much that I know what I was going to say. I remember in high school learning of something called situation ethics. Remember that? Situation ethics means the ends justify the means, right? And that, I think, is where we are. And it's not moral, really,
No.
Because here's what the rationale of these hyper liberal left people is: it doesn't even matter what we have to do. It does not matter. Trump has to get out. Lie, cheat, steal, whatever we've got to do, because the end justifies the mean. Because Orange Man bad, right? We have to get him out.
And also, it's a battle between globalists, even with the Republican, what you'd call rhinos,
right,
and those in the deep state, which is really the deep state. Let's get this straight. It's nothing more than lifelong bureaucrats.
Right, like Nancy Pelosi, who's never had a job in her life.
Well, and then she keeps getting reelected by her whatever method she uses in San Francisco there. But the thing is, there's lifelong bureaucrats that are devoted to one side or the other, and they're not in office 4, 6, 8 years. They're in office 30, 40 years till they die, or somehow retire. And so that's been part of the problem with having these people who are loyal to one side or the other, even to the point of doing, like you say, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Because you have now for 40 years a communist influence that has come in. They said they were going to do it. They've always said they were going to. And it has to do with our education and all our aspects of the country.
Yeah.
And they've gotten to the point where they've influenced Congress people and payoffs, and even look into Georgia, into this Dominion voting system that $120 million was paid, 3 months before the election to install these machines.
Right.
And who got the money? Family members of, the Secretary of State and the governor, even though they're Republicans.
Wow.
You've got people, and then they refuse to check the ballots against signatures. There's no logical excuse for not wanting to double check.
No.
And then you separate, like you said last week, you separate the envelopes from the ballots so that they can't possibly be checked.
Yeah, that's what they've done.
How would you know?
This was carefully planned. We have to redo the election. And I think the odds are slim that that's going to happen. And you know what? We have no guarantee that America is going to last forever in its current state.
No, we don't.
And it's so sad. But many of us see the end. The end of the individual freedom. The difference between America and the other countries when America was started was the concept of individual rights, not statism,
Right.
not statism. Like individuals
And
don't.
property.
Right.
Yes.
It's you know, they there's a thought out there in communism and socialism that says what's good for the state is what trumps everything else. Even if it's bad for you, even if it costs you your life, the state is supreme. That's why we left King George. That's why we left England, because we said no, not here. It's like the you remember we used to have a discussion about leadership. There's two kinds of leadership. Endoskeletons. You know, leadership gives strength and form, right? So an endoskeleton, like a crab, you can see the strength of its shell, and that's very visible. But then a human being, we're soft, right? Our skeleton is hidden, but it's strong. And I think the big state is the big exoskeleton. We want to just build up government, build everything up, show how government can fix everything, you know? And then
they can't even decide whether a mask is
right.
healthy or not. When it's they say follow the science, and then when the science comes out with hundreds of experts that say no, as a matter of fact, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Then they don't want to follow the science anymore, and so they're trying to eliminate the small independent businesses, which they've done a good job of. About 40% of them are gone.
Oh, I know.
And it's so sad. The livelihoods and families associated with that are now in a desperate need. And then they're trying to, for a virus that has a 96% survival rate, talk about even mandatory vaccines. Your immune system has a better ratio than the vaccine.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't make
right.
sense. You know, and they're going to say, well, there's no liability for the company now if we stick you with this.
Amazing.
There's no liability. I mean, you talk about your rights going away, your life might go away, and they call it for the good of the collective, or like you said, the good of all of society. That's not what America was founded on.
Right.
We get our rights from God, not from government.
That's right.
And we have individual liberty, individual right of ownership, and the pursuit of happiness as we see fit. That's the way it's supposed to be, and they don't like that anymore. They want to get rid of that.
And you know,
I'll take the peace police, even though we're for peace, we're not for that, you know.
No, that's right. You know, and the far left love to bring up, you know, my body, my choice, right? That's like their whole stance on being pro-choice is that you shouldn't tell a woman what she can do with her body. And obviously, us conservatives and Christians especially say, well, the problem is it's not just her body. There's another body. There's another soul. There's another human being, right? So that's what we say.
Body, right.
You can do whatever you want with your body. You just can't do whatever you want with a baby's body because that's not your body, right? But those same people who scream, you know, body autonomy are saying, oh, but by the way, we're going to have to make this vaccine mandatory. You know, it boggles the mind, you know?
Yeah, some states just passed a thing too where they can vaccinate your children.
Yeah, without your consent.
Without your consent. I mean, it's gotten to the point where, my goodness, are there any rights at all left? You know, like what they tried to do is shadow ban, for instance, the First Amendment, your right to say things, and they've done it through, you know, Facebook and all these. That's why President wanted to do away with this Section 230 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Where they now are the arbiter of opinions. You can't even, on a site that supposedly is not a news site and is not responsible for being an arbiter of what's true or not. It's supposed to just be a free for all to post what you want. Now they're controlling what you can say. They even try to control what the president says.
Right.
You know, it's like,
yeah, it's weird. I mean, there's something that comes with free speech, and we didn't have free speech in England, and that's one of the reasons we broke off, right? And free speech is like, you know, it's a cornerstone, right, of our democracy. But what comes with free speech is you don't have the right not to be offended at someone else's speech. You don't have the right, you know, in other words, your right to just be calm and never offended doesn't trump my right to say what's on my mind. But that's what's happened now. Everything's hate speech. If the left doesn't agree with it, it's hate speech. Listen, The which amendment is the First Amendment, right? The freedom of speech.
Right.
It was created for what? For speech that's unpopular, for speech that people hate. You don't need freedom of speech to go out and stand in the middle of the street and go, "Oh, it's a lovely sunny day, look at the flowers." No, you need freedom of speech to say the government is screwing us, right? Or whatever, you know? You need freedom of speech to, you know what? I hate the neo-Nazis, all these people. You know, their ideology. I don't like the ideology of the left, but I defend their right to free speech. They're allowed to say it.
If you don't, you're going to be next on the list.
That's right. Let's argue.
Until you have no rights at all. They'll take the First and Second Amendment. You'll have no right to do anything. In fact, they've started arresting people even for defending within their own home. Somebody that breaks in the home, tries to kill and rape your family and your wife. You shoot him and you're the one that goes to jail. It's like, what?
And you know what's funny is if you shoot him and don't kill him, he's going to live in your house because he's going to get a lawyer and sue you, and he's going to win. I mean, it's just up is down.
It's nuts.
It is. It's crazy.
The problem is when you look at the global scheme of things.
Yeah.
These bigwigs at the top, you know, the 15 or so that are multi-billionaires and are really multinational corporate controllers, really want it to all see. For them, they'll never have to worry about the income or anything like that because they are the elite that are multi-billionaires. So they'll be the ones that continue to have everything, where if you take the wealth of the rest of us and divide it, we'll all be broke. We'll all be bankrupt.
That's right.
You know, and their idea is to control what you think, what you do, where you can go. You can't go to a church, but you can go to Walmart.
Right.
You know, none of it makes sense. And I think there's a growing tide of people who are saying, no, wait a minute.
You're absolutely right.
That is enough. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think it's not going to be so easy to pull over on Americans.
No. I mean, if you wanted to, and there are books like this, like Saul Alinsky and those guys, but if you wanted to write kind of I don't know, maybe a screenplay or a story, a fictional story about how the once bright and shining beacon of liberty, America, becomes Venezuela, if you wanted to write that process, we're in that process. It's like someone's trying to do that right now. You know, we got to fight back because how would you do it? Well, you know, you take over the media first, you know, so that you control what information they get access to. And I'm just going to tell you, if you're watching any of NBC, ABC, CBS, any of that stuff, unfortunately, even Fox now these days, if you're getting all your information from those places, you are being fed what they want you to know.
Yeah.
You're being brainwashed so that you will go along, like, you know, in a pacifist, you know, compliant way with the things they're about to bring in. And it's not going to happen overnight, but man, once you get too far down that path, I don't know how you turn it around.
It's down the road quite a ways now, brother.
It is. I see Patsy again said, she said, they aren't after me, they're after you, at Donald Trump. So Donald Trump said that. That's a quote from Donald Trump. And she's right. And he was right. They're not after Trump. They're after people like you and me.
They're after the freedom seekers, the ones who would defend the liberties that we have.
Right.
And the Constitution and Bill of Rights, which they hate. They can't stand the Constitution because it's a restriction on government.
Yep.
And they want to govern everybody according to what they consider is the best for the whole, the collective. You know?
Right. The problem is that that whole concept is based on an error, you know, based on a false premise, in my opinion. And that false premise is that it is normal and natural in the human heart to just want to give things away and share. That's just not true. People are in it for themselves. That's the way the humans are made. It's a survival instinct. People are in it for themselves, you know? So they say, hey, we're going to share. I remember the song from the 60s that I love because I love the Guess Who. You know, maybe I'll be there to shake your hand. Maybe I'll be there to share the land that they'll be giving away when we all live together. That sounds great. Guess what? It's ridiculous. People,
Yeah.
there's no sharing
I
of
hate
land
to
and
say
living
that he's
together.
one of our favorite guys, but imagine there's no country.
Oh, I know. I love. Yeah, I mean, the music is amazing, but the philosophy is horrible, and we've never ever seen it work. People point to Switzerland or whatever they do. It just doesn't work. It always ends
For a
up.
simple reason
Yeah,
that it goes against the human nature.
that's right.
And actually, you can't reward the people who do nothing and take away from the producers. In fact, I saw a thing where today they were attacking the 1%, and how much taxes they pay. What they fail to realize is the top 1% pay over 50% of the taxes.
Right.
And the lower 47%, I don't mean to shock you, but they're not producing anything. They're not paying any taxes.
No, they're living off the government, and it's
Naturally they're going to vote for more of the free money, more of the stimulus, more of the, until finally, who knows what will happen, but it will implode because we're 30 trillion in debt right now.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, this next 4 years is going to be a real test on the American fortitude, because
That's right.
I think we got to start with looking at the election and let's making sure that whoever won really won. If we don't do that, you can pretty much, the peace police will still be around fighting till the last.
Till they come to our doors and arrest us.
They come to our doors, arrest us for trying to keep the peace.
Listen. If we have 4 years of Biden, we have a better chance of finding a yodeling pickle than we do our country getting better. Wait, I found one. It's a yodeling pickle. Sorry, I just had to throw in a little humor there. But you got a better chance of finding a yodeling pickle than this scheme of redistribution of wealth, and they don't even hide that anymore. They just say
they don't even hide it.
They say, yeah, no. What we are about is redistributing the wealth. That's what they say. Yeah, but the problem is in the
their wealth,
right in the redistribution. 95% of the wealth goes to like 1% of the people. And then the other 5% is spread out, which means all of us live on about $800 a month. And, it's like I see these commercials for International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, and you see these poor older Jews that were in the Holocaust, and they're living in Israel on $2 a day. And they're in poverty, and that stuff breaks my heart. But guess what? That's what Venezuela's like. That's what these countries end up being like, except for the aristocracy. And then those guys, they fly around in private jets and bomb people and stuff.
Yeah, you put a czar on your cabinet that's supposed to be for the environment, and he owns 3 private planes, 7 houses, was involved in government for 45 years, I mean, it's amazing. After all this touting of fairness, then that's who they appoint to their cabinet.
It is amazing. I'll tell you, this week, what's today? Today's the 3rd, I think. Is that right?
3 more days.
So 4th, 5th, 6th, Wednesday. Listen, none of us know what's going to happen on Wednesday, but Wednesday may be one of the biggest days in the U.S. history. I mean, and for these moments, the Peace Police was born. We never condone violence, no rioting, no touching other people's property or person without their permission, no destruction. But I'm telling you what, January 6th is a pivotal moment in this country's history. And if it doesn't go well, then I'm just going to pray for Jesus to come back. It's not going to look good.
I'm sure that we're going to have... as long as we can stay alive on the air, we're going to have a place to. You're going to have either side is going to be ticked off. I can assure you that.
Oh yeah. There'll be way less violence, if unfortunately, if Biden gets in immediately, in the short term. And I frankly think, just my opinion, I think that's why the Supreme Court wouldn't even take the case. People, like you were saying earlier, people are saying, "Oh, there's no evidence of fraud." What are you talking about? What we the courts have thrown it all. No, the courts have refused to hear the evidence. Why did the Supreme Court refuse to take up the case? I have an opinion. I think they know that if they overturn this election, there's going to be riots everywhere. They're afraid of the left. They don't want to piss off the left. That's what I think. If it were,
because you just can't say after the videos and the reams of thousands of sworn affidavits under perjury,
right,
under penalty of perjury, and experts, computer cyber experts, saying it's statistically impossible.
That's
and
right.
Actual videos and even whistleblowers from both parties. You just can't say there's no evidence. The question is there evidence enough to change the election? And in the case of these 6 states, all you got to look at it, it's only like about 20 to 50,000 votes in each of those 6 states, just enough in the middle of the night to undo.
Yeah.
And down ballot, here's another question any logical person would ask. Then why did all the Republicans down ballot win their races?
Right.
You mean the people went down ballot and voted for all these Republicans, but didn't vote for Trump? They voted for Biden.
Yeah, ridiculous.
There's no way.
It strains credulity. It's mathematically, statistically not possible. And guess what? Any thinking Democrat knows it too. But they're blinded by TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. Well, hey,
I think we've gone long enough today, but I just wanted to bring up some of the things we'll be looking at in the next 3 days.
That's right. I have a feeling next Sunday's broadcasts are going to be interesting, huh? After the 6th. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Check out peacepolice.net and spread the peace. Stop the hate. Let's work together before it's too late. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Patsy, for getting back on. We love you.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to see you, Patsy. God bless you all, and keep the faith, all right? We'll see you next time.
Spread the peace, stop the hate. Let's work together before it's too late. Spread the peace, stop the hate. Let's work together before it's too late. Spread the peace, stop the hate. Let's work together before it's too late. Spread the peace, stop the hate. Let's work together before it's too late. Now brave men died to keep you free. They paid the greatest price, so you could speak your mind and live a long and happy life. But I turn on the news and see us fighting with each other. These hateful attitudes are turning brother against brother. If we don't fix this soon, there's gonna be chaos in the streets. There's no